I'm Hal Rubenstein, and welcome back to the Happy Grown Up Podcast, where we celebrate the millions of Americans over 50 who are more active, engaged, and excited about tomorrow than we ever expected we would be. The Happy Grown Up is the first playbook for what I like to call us New Agers. Our mission is to help you discover new ways to indulge your curiosity, grab fresh opportunities, look and feel great, remain engaged and relevant, and relish the joy to be found in the second half of our lives. Today, I have the pleasure to be speaking with someone who is having one of the best times of his life. He's all grown up now, but I've known Eric Rutherford since he was barely legal. You may not think you know him, but if you're on social media, he and his Instagram posts are pretty hard to miss. What makes Eric so impressive is that his seemingly effortless social media skills, which have attracted 250,000 followers, are so relentlessly positive you just might suspect he's the love child of Julie Andrews and Dick Van Dyke. He also has the best shock of hair since Samson, for which I hate him. Eric has attained a devoted following and established himself a lucrative perch as a sought-after influencer, and yet he is neither Gen Y, Gen Z, or a millennial. Nope, he qualifies as a happy grown-up. And if there is anybody who is helping to define what it is to new age in our current tumultuous society, it is Eric Rutherford. And I am dying to know how he does it. Hello, my old friend.
Hi, Hal. How are you?
I am good. I am very good.
Wow, I'm fantastic after that intro. Thank you.
It's true.
Yeah,
It's true.
thank you.
You know, every month, you come on there and you're, hi, it's Tuesday.
Yeah.
And, it's very funny. I showed it because somebody was asking who you were, and I was showing it to them. And of course, the first thing that was coming on is your hair. But of course, the second thing is he always this happy? And I went, yeah. And he goes, why? And I went, Jesus Christ. I said, okay, well, why not? But the point is that there is something striking about your inveterate positivity. So I want to know how you got there. There's something to how you approach a day, and what has sort of gotten you to that place.
Many things. Listen, it's a practice. Absolutely. It is a practice.
Okay.
It takes work. I would say I am a naturally happy person. I believe in the power of a smile. And I know some people could say that though that's sappy or that really doesn't mean anything or whatever. I mean, listen, there's scientific fact, even if you want to break it down. Smiling, your own personal body reacts differently, right? The world
Absolutely
sees you differently, greets you differently. Again, I believe you can change a person's day. And I have been told you can actually save a person's life by smiling at someone. And I know some people could roll your eyes over something like that, but it's true, because to me, when you smile at someone and you share, I see you, I'm actually pausing and taking a moment to see you and smile with you, towards you, share this with you. It does change them. The coincidence of you and I talking today is I'm celebrating 32 years of being clean and sober today. And that is a big part of me being positive, because when I got sober at 21, I wasn't that positive, and I had lost hope and I had lost faith. I didn't think that I would live to see another year. And yet here I am at 57 years old. I'm alive. I'm healthy. I mean, listen, I've certainly got my aches and pains for sure.
We all do.
My body certainly looks different than I was when I was 21 or 31 or 41, even 51. But what I do have, and you talked about it, is that I have another day to show up. I'm grateful for another day. I'm excited by having this conversation with you. Listen, and again, I'm not a Pollyanna by any means. And, one thing, and we could talk about this as well, is, this whole idea, and I've been accused of this, of toxic positivity. Just the other day, someone was kind of tagged me in this thing and DM'd me about it on social media. You know what? If you only take me, as someone who's just positive, then you're actually missing all of the story, because I'm very open about the struggles that I've had. I'm very open that I have down days. But what I do and what I believe that we have, particularly as we get older, is we develop a toolkit. And we have these tools that we've learned how to show up. We've learned how to survive. We've learned how to bring another perspective to something and not just be down and not just be up. There are some days I don't want to get out of bed. I also know, though, how is that serving me? How am I being of service to other people by just sitting in the darkness or sitting in the negativity? And again, I'm not denying it because it's happening. Life happens.
Right.
Death happens. Trauma happens. And I'm also aware at 57 years old that I am not that kid that I was. And I have learned a lot and I'm grateful for it. And I'm probably even more curious. And this is something that also influences my being positive or choosing to smile, right? Is I'm still curious. In social media, talking about a second act, right? I really only started engaging as quote unquote Mr. Rutherford about 6 years ago. And that was a complete surprise.
How did you get started in that? Because like I said, this is something that, everybody talks, it's natural for my kids and blah, blah, blah. And my niece put my phone together and it just, I can't do that. I'm just too old, next generation. And yet you didn't start this as a child.
No.
You didn't reach out as a kid. And yet you've created a following. You've created both on the business side, on brands looking at you saying, let's have Eric talk about us. And on the other side of people looking and going, I just watched that guy's post the other day and he had really cool shoes on. Number one, what prompted you to go there? And how did you go about building up this sort of force?
Well, listen, again, going back, I started performing as a child actor and doing commercials and everything when I was very young, when I was 11 years old, 12 years old. So we'll say the entertainer in me has always been in my life. I left that part of the business in early 30s. I got burnt out. I was disillusioned, kind of all the negative stereotypes, my own self, like my own insecurities. And I started doing events, and I was doing it with movie studios and big brands and everything. And slowly as social media became not just like a personal expression for people, whether it was Facebook or Instagram or whatever, but it also became a tool for marketing. And so, if you were doing something, launching a brand, whether it was Levi's or Gap or whatever, you had to have a social media strategy in place as well. And so I was working with brands and I was behind the scenes. I was producing these events or I was part of a team. For me, I love producing events. I love the behind the scenes. I have incredible friendships and relationships. And so it was a joy to be able to share not just the pretty pictures, but all the, the coming together and the teamwork. And you could go into a dirt parking lot and within a day or a week, transform it into this magic, just magic. And I love that. And so I liked sharing that. And I was, the last, we'll say office job that I had, I was co-director of special events and projects at the Hollywood Reporter. And I love movies. I love TV. I love writers. I love photographers. And I love Hollywood. And so all of these elements I was a part of. And we were producing events. And it was right around that time when I started my Instagram, Mr. Rutherford. I wasn't thinking that I was creating a brand. I wasn't thinking that, this is my strategy or this is my platform and this is my goal. No, I've always enjoyed storytelling. And I believe we share through imagery. And that's what I was doing. I was sharing what I was doing.
But when did you realize, number one, that people were responding to your posts, and then two, these numbers started to build? When did it dawn on you that this was more than just you throwing it out there?
Like there were a few things that happened. So one was I had brands starting to reach out to me directly, DMing me, saying, we would like Mr. Rutherford to host a dinner because we like your style. We like how you present yourself. We like your positivity. And the fact that at that time, I think I was 46 or 47, there weren't many people my age that were engaging with social media the way that I was. And truth be told, listen, knock on wood, thank you, mom and dad, but I've got, as I've been said, I'm on Instagram, I'm known as the guy with the great gray hair.
You got good genes, yes.
I got the genes. So, and that was also people responding to that. And that started to opening up a door, right? And also simultaneously, I knew there was something, or I felt something was missing in my life. A level of creativity. You can work around some of the most creative people in the world, some of the most inspiring talents around you. But what your job becomes is really, it's about business. You're checking up these boxes. So when people began to reach out to me, I looked at it that, oh, this is an opportunity. Those opportunities started to grow. And then the job ended at Hollywood Reporter. My 16-year relationship ended, sold our house. I was alone for the first time in years. And I was having kind of almost this moment of like, what is my life? What am I doing with my life? This isn't supposed to be the way it is right now. And something clicked. I said, you know what? As opposed to looking at what I've just lost, look at the opportunity that's in front of me. I believe in opportunities present themselves. And if you're ready, you see them and you can walk through them, walk towards them. If you're not ready, I believe then fine, then it just goes by and it will come back around again. So when you are ready. And at that point, I made some money from the sale of my house. I was like, I'm jumping into this 100%. And all of a sudden, an old agent reached out to me, said, let's try this. I said, why not? I said, I've always wanted to work in New York more because I was always visiting New York for jobs, but I was never spending time there. So I literally slept on a friend's couch. God bless my friend Tim. For a year and a half, I was going back and forth as I built this career. Going back to what you're saying, I never lost sight. And it was hard. People didn't know who I was. They didn't care who I was. But I was doing the work and I was showing up and I was happy about it.
And just in terms of the methodology, because for those people, I mean, I think a lot of people during the pandemic have turned to a hobby or a passion or something and realize, I love this. I don't want to let go of this. What can I do with this? But the thing very often that holds them back is, quote, I'm not a kid. I don't know. How do I put this out there? How do I turn the hobby into an avocation? And so what was that? So in terms of in terms with money and time and stuff, how did you sort of work on building up that social media platform to something that became formidable?
Sure. Well, first off, listen, I know the privilege that I had from the sale of my house allowed me to fully do this 100%. Because I have a number of friends of mine, like they still have other jobs as they begin to build, we'll say, a presence on social media. So I'm very conscious of that it allowed me to work towards that. That being said, I busted my ass. I constantly was shooting with new photographers. I was fearless in the sense of I was reaching out to in whatever publications, writers that I happen to know, people I'd done events with. And I was always lending my support because, again, I know how difficult just any business can be. So showing up for someone, whether it was the launch of a new brand, a new clothing brand, and a new drink, a dinner, whatever it might be, friends that were trying to get something off the ground, I firmly believe in we support each other, and what I was able to give, and this was a big turning point. If I was able to help someone else and help them build something, more often than not, they then would want to help me as well. Again, I believe we all rise by helping each other. I've always believed that. I've always believed in helping someone make a connection or giving them a reference or whatever it might be. And that is translated into this arena as well. So the wonderful thing with social media is, one, you have to believe in what you're doing. Even though there may be days where you're like, this is too hard, or especially if you're on a public platform, people could be like, listen, I've had people like say to me, hang it up, grandpa. But that's okay, because to them, especially someone being over their 50s, that's their reference because I am older than their parents. Yeah, I'm not 20, 25, 35. Believe in your authentic self, the truth that you're putting out. And you can choose to put out, a part of your life and focus on it. You can choose to put out all of your life. For me, that's how I've always presented this.
At any time, did you feel the pandemic challenged your sobriety?
Interestingly enough, it actually helped me re-engage my sobriety.
Why is that?
Listen, again, I've been sober for many, many years, and it has been an up and a down and a love-hate relationship. But what I've always learned is no matter what, you show up, you be of service, and you don't drink a day at a time. For the last few years, and coming into this we'll say new career, this new chapter of my life, this unexpected chapter, I wasn't going to as many meetings. I wasn't putting, we'll say, my sobriety or my spiritual program or the fellowship first. I put me building this career first. And And that's not the best thing to do, because I wouldn't have this opportunity if I wasn't clean or sober. And so the incredible surprise, as dark as this pandemic got for many people, and it certainly got that way for me, because every, we'll say, career that I have found success in, whether it's in the fashion industry, entertainment industry, or the event industry, decimated, gone. So here I was at 53, and I felt like I was bottoming out again. That what do I do now? Where do I go now? What does the future even look like? And everyone is feeling that, right? So what ended up happening was, right towards the beginning, I had a friend of mine that I knew who was sober. We were sober. We've gone to meetings together. Reached out to me to speak. And what it ended up doing was, I was there to be of service. I was there to share my story, to help another alcoholic stay sober one more day at a time. And in this meeting, there were a number of people that were counting days that had gotten sober during the pandemic. So they didn't know the feeling of camaraderie in the rooms, the feeling of that hug to support, that, that ability to show up and feel welcome, feel loved, feel supported when you feel like your life is just falling apart. Now it was in these little tiny black boxes on Zoom. I go to 5 AA Zoom meetings a week, and the joy that I feel, and the humility that I feel, and the gratefulness that I feel, there was a moment for about 3 weeks that it got really dark. If I listened to so many of the voices that said, "You're too old, hang it up. What are you doing? You look like a fool. What are you doing on TikTok? Or whatever." Again, whatever it might be. Well, that's someone's opinion. What I'm doing every day, and again, it's through my sobriety, it's through my friends, it's through this business. I'm more certain now at 57 years old of the path that I'm going on.
I think one of the key words, you sort of zoomed right by it, and yet I think it's an essential word, is fear. And I think as you get older, as we get older, or as we new age here, we grew up with the assumption that that at some point you reached a level of contentment where everything falls into place, where everything's nice, where the vase goes here, I always sit at this chair in that restaurant. I know where I'm working, and these are my friends for 20 years. And there's someone who went through it, who basically reached a very successful level here at a magazine. And I felt it. I became content, very content, which was a really good thing economically and a really bad thing creatively, because all of a sudden everything got easy. And when things get too easy, something's not right, because the reality is that contentment is an incredibly dangerous thing. And I think now more so than ever, like that horrible phrase, "take it easy." No, the idea of being able to constantly be challenged, that you need to be challenged to sort of keep your juices going. All of those elements, the idea that I think what this new generation of New Agers is learning is that it's not so terrible to be afraid. Why shouldn't you scare yourself just a little bit? I actually think it keeps you younger.
I 100% agree with you. 100% agree. And also I want to preface this for people who are listening. I know you feel this way. I feel this way. We are coming from this at a privileged point, right? There are some people that aren't interested, that they don't want to do this, but they appreciate and want to see others doing it, like you, like me, doing this. I think the perspective on how people are looking, obviously we're living longer and living healthier. Listen, also too, it's like my body's breaking down. Listen, I at some point, I think I have to get a disc replaced in my back, because it's like me standing up sometimes, forget it.
The alternative to getting older really sucks.
Yeah. Yeah.
It really sucks. You want to be on the other side of the lawn? Go right ahead.
Yep.
You can just complain so much, but the point is you woke up.
Yes. Oh my God.
You woke
Amen.
up, which means you got, going back to your clean and sober thing, because I think regardless of whether you've been challenged with alcoholism, addiction, depression, whatever it is, everybody still has to do it one day at a time.
Yes. And that's why I'm so open about, I was given these tools and literally a phrase, right? It's a phrase you could put on a t-shirt, a bumper sticker, or a keychain. Well, no, it applies to everyone. You take it one day at a time. And sometimes in those harder days, sometimes it's an hour at a time, But what it does is it gives me those tools to constantly show up in the day, to show up in my life, to show up for my family, to show up to the things, the possibilities of what life has for it. That it's not that I'm not just stopping living because my body aches, or because someone's told me I'm over the hill, or someone wants to shame me because my body doesn't look the way that it used to look, or I have more lines in my face. And you know what? I just got to say, God damn it, I'm proud of every single freaking line that I have in my face. I've earned them. I know people look at me like, you've had it easier because of the way that you look, or you have it easier because you're tall, or you have it easier because you've got great hair. You know what? I do not deny that doors have opened for me. I've had success because of either the way that I look, or my hair, or whatever, or because of the color of my skin, or even because I'm a male, right? I have a girlfriend of mine right now, very incredible stylist, has been in the fashion industry for years. She was fired during the pandemic, they said, for cutbacks. What she believes, because of the person and then they hired afterwards, is because they felt she was too old.
Her feelings are not unfounded.
Correct.
We talk about misogyny, and we talk about racism, and we talk about homophobia. We don't talk about ageism in our society, and yet it is rampant.
Very.
It is absolutely rampant. And I think it's one of the reasons why I think in some ways, as you get older, you have to learn how not to give a shit. That's the first thing.
Yep.
And I think that does happen with age. But also, we didn't think this was going to happen because we grew up in a society that basically said, here's your job, you work for 37 years, you'll get a gold watch, and then you can stop. But that's not how careers go anymore. It's not how our lives go anymore. And the point is that fearlessness has to kind of stay with you if you want to keep going. And part of that fearlessness is to basically go to that person who because of ageism, is fuck you. Fuck you. I'm just going to, you know what? I'll show you. Is everyone going to succeed doing that? No. Is it going to be really hard? Absolutely, positively, yes.
Yes, everything that you're saying, two things that you brought up is about being fearless, right? That is one thing that I would say to someone, we'll say that's older in this platform, older, 50 and older, right? I hear very often, you do it so well. You do social media so well. Listen, every day, I don't know what I'm doing every day. And I may be fearful, is this the right thing to post? Is this too much to post? Is this whatever? It's like, I need to change it up, or this algorithm, all that stuff. But it's continuing to show up. It's not giving up. And it's also being open, because again, being the age that we are, we've had experience. We've had more life experience. Fact is fact. We've had more life experience than someone in their 20s or 30s or 40s. It doesn't make us any more valuable, or them any more valuable, or less valuable, or us any more whatever, but it is a fact. And I encourage people, especially over 50, right, to own that and to embrace that. And so if you've been pushed out or fired or think that you're washed up, or people say that to you all the time, well, okay, that's their opinion. But fact is fact. What you've gone through is valuable. What you have discovered in yourself, in life, in relationships, in work, or whatever, people that are just starting out are craving for that kind of guidance, that kind of understanding, that ability to be able to see life differently. So regards to if being active on social media, yeah, be open to learning, but also be fearless in doing.
Here's an idea. For those people who do want to be more active on social media, either because they have a product or simply because the year of being home, where suddenly yes. they're comfortable with Zoom, and in terms when you post, what are the elements that people can pick up on? What are the tips that you could give people to help increase their social media awareness, their following? What are the things that they can do to sort of build those numbers up? Because it is an important thing.
Yes, absolutely.
So how do you use those tools in a way that can build, and how can we help them?
One of the biggest thing is consistency. What I would encourage, and now I play around with this in myself, but I would say to build a following and build a brand, people like consistency. They want to know that you're going to post at least once a day. And if you can, do it at the same time every day. So that, again, people look forward to it. You're creating a relationship with people. In that relationship, people want to know what to expect. They know what they're going to get, whether it's about fashion or gardening or, again, whatever it might be. It's that expectation in building this relationship. Again, and all of this can change, but decide how you want to present yourself on your platforms. If Cooking is what excites you. Focus on cooking. Be consistent. Choose, what you want your pictures to look like. Choose 2 hashtags so that people, if they're searching for something, that they can find it with that. Tag people that you would like to collaborate with or partner with, or to get someone's attention. That actually did wonders for me. Whether it was at the time, whether it was me tagging Interview or InStyle or GQ or British GQ or whomever it was. And from that, I began to build a relationship with those people on those teams. I began to then get invited to certain things. Then you grow that relationship. There's no right or wrong how to do it. Yes, there's things with the algorithm that will help you pull you to the top, that will get more attention, all those things. But if it's going to stop you and make you afraid to even try anything, then that's not working. I'm constantly looking to see who's doing something, and whether it's already the people that I follow or people that I've never even heard of. Be fearless in your curiosity. Be fearless in your searches. Another person who I look to who for advice, inspiration is Gary Vaynerchuk, and he's on his social as Gary V.
He has 8.9 million followers. Yeah,
a lot. He's tough love. He says it like it is. Respect the relationship you have with your followers, because they are choosing to spend time with you. And what he means by that is, when someone does a like, or someone makes a comment back, engage with them, because it is about a relationship, and respect that. And never, ever lose sight of that or take that for granted. Because as we all know, there are millions of people that we all could follow, and we are choosing to spend time with you. That's another way to actually grow your audience, to grow your followers, letting them know, like, I see you, I respect you, I'm grateful that you're taking time with me. And listen to what they're asking, and be sure you answer it.
Last year when the politics were, if not more toxic, then more openly toxic, let's just say. And you would make comments, and you always had that circle of people who would go, yeah, I love what you said. I love what you said. Love what you said. And you'd get a good response. Oddly enough, when you would post pictures that weren't about politics, when you would post pictures about your family or something that happened to you, or about the person you love most in the world, the response not only increased, not only doubled, but also sent out a better message.
That's why I am the way that I am. Because I believe, for me, I love to smile. So why not share that? I believe my nature is to be up. And trust me, as we all have, certainly have dark days, but I am making a choice to participate by doing Happy Tuesday, by engaging, by looking to finding. And again, I'm not overlooking what's happening, but I'm choosing to look at it with a positive attitude or find the silver lining.
We live in a society that's so intent on doing everything to the extreme.
Yes.
Everything's either freezing cold or burning hot. And the idea of a duality, that you can be aware of the challenges of the darkness in the world, but you also have to be aware of what's light and what else is out there. Again, for older people, all of us new aging here, who want to build that presence on social media, is it Instagram? Do you go running after TikTok? I mean, where do you think is most effective?
Again, I think it's where you're comfortable. When I came back at a certain point, I was on every platform, and then I met with a brand strategist, and they said, nope, focus on one. And this was a few years ago. And so I primarily focused on Instagram because I liked visual representation. And again, this was a few years ago. This is before they had stories. This is before they had kind of everything that you're able to do on it now. So it was really purely a visual medium. And I love that. I've always enjoyed telling stories through pictures, and again, I love writers. I love writing. I love expressing myself through words. So then I would write these captions, right? So I focused on that. But where I am today is I post on every platform. I went on TikTok when it first came out because everyone in the biz said you have to be on TikTok. And I'm looking at it like, I'm not 15. I'm not 20. You know what I mean? I'm not 20.
Well, go ahead. Convince me.
Then I see other friends of mine. And again, many people that will say have the label of influencer, right? In the industry. Again, to me, it's an easy label. Many of my friends, they're 20 years younger, 25 years younger than I am. And again, they're in that demographic will say that is thriving on TikTok and loving it. So again, I would be remiss or a fool to cut myself off because, quote unquote, there's an age limit. To me, what I saw was a level of creativity that I hadn't seen in a while on Instagram. I was seeing joy. I was seeing fun. I was seeing silliness. I was seeing wit. I was seeing all those things that brought a smile to my face. So why wouldn't I want to be a part of that?
Okay.
Again, God bless my hair. I own it. I embrace it. I'm humble about it. It's hair. So to this day, I still get asked, and most of it's from guys, gay, straight, whatever, different, different jobs, different whatever it is. How do you do your hair? So many guys don't know how to blow dry their hair.
No, they don't.
I go on TikTok. I was like, all right, well, let me do this. I'll literally do a quick clip of how a 5-minute or 2-minute blow dry. Again, in the morning, didn't think about it, didn't plan it, just did it. I think at this point, it has 1.7 million likes. I'm 57. That makes me laugh. But what ended up happening is all of a sudden it opened up my eyes. It opened up like a path in for me on that platform to at least get my foot in the door. And again, I was comfortable doing it and I was having fun with it. I wasn't taking myself seriously, and then I get it. People look at me, they call me daddy, and I could, most of these people, I could be their daddy. And the fun of being called a daddy or having fun with it or being able to laugh at it and with it and about myself. So then lately on TikTok, I've been doing these like bad dad jokes or like stereotypical like dad stuff. Again, 100 million. Again, it's 100,000, 500,000 likes, 600,000. I mean, it's again, having fun with it. Now, is that my primary platform? No, but I'm engaging with it.
Okay.
The other thing I would say to people that talking about social is all these social platforms are becoming more restrictive with their guidelines.
Right.
Sometimes they're doing a good job and sometimes they're not. And I have a number of friends of mine who are conservative. They've gotten shut down because they've said something and it got flagged or whatever. And that happened to my brother. I also have friends of mine who are queer artists, both men and women, and they've gotten shut down because they, quote unquote, broke guidelines. So another thing that Gary says is, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Don't just rely on one platform. That could go away in a second. And all of a sudden you've lost all the hard work that you've done. You've lost the relationship that they have with their followers. So again, grow your foundation. Again, it's about building buzz. It's about building relationships. It's about building so that you can go then to the next step and that you can grow from there.
So where do you think you can take it from now? Where do you think you can go further?
One, thank you for asking that, because I ask myself that every day. So for me, again, it's the pandemic. Like I, at one point, felt like I lost everything. At 53, what was I going to do with my life? What ended up happening was, again, I kind of stewed in it for a little while, but I also knew like, okay, I can't stay here because if I don't take action, then nothing's going to change. So what do? I was working less, we'll say as a model, my age, right? As a mature, I was working less. So I was making less, but my visibility was growing. There was already something that was shifting. So for me, what I ended up deciding to do is I was like, okay, I've always wanted to go back to hosting on TV. I've always wanted to create shows. I've sold a few things as a writer when I was younger and I had put that down. So in the time that we had, I picked the pen back up, so to speak, and I finished a 2-person play because it kept my writing going again. So for me, and I'm having someone read it right now. I'm getting ready to do notes. So that's one thing. I've always been a storyteller, and I believe we can connect through our stories and sharing our stories and learn about each other. Because if you don't expand beyond, your circle of friends or the job that you do, then you may never listen. I still have some friends of mine said, I've never met someone who's trans. Or even my mom, like 2 Christmases ago, she had never said this to me before. She goes, I had never met someone who was gay until you came out. So things like that. So to me, what I ended up doing, these 2 friends of mine at Stereotype Studio, they produce these podcasts. And I had done a reading of something I had written about a year and a half ago before the pandemic. And they said, listen, we have an idea. Are you open to this? Are you open to expanding upon what you've already done in the sense of sharing people's stories? So we are literally getting ready to launch a podcast centered around sharing people's stories and then hearing the conversation. And it's the stories. And again, I love that, we're talking so much about social media, because so often we just see the pretty picture. There's a person behind that picture. There's a journey that person has gone through to get to that picture. Like, perfect example, today, I will end up posting a picture and talking about me honoring and celebrating my 32 years of being clean and sober.
Right.
There's a story behind all these pictures. So often or not, we scroll by, tap like, and never take a time to actually learn about the person. So for me, I'm creating this podcast where I'm reading these people's stories and then having conversations with them to expand beyond. So for me, that's a direction I'm going. And it's certainly some other things that are happening too.
Well, look, the whole idea of Happy Grown Up is really about storytelling. The idea is that words are what matter most to me. I actually don't believe a picture's worth 1,000 words. I think pictures are great. I'd actually rather take 1,000 words most of the time. But the idea of using all of these things, because it is such a wealth and such an incredibly expanding horizon, I do like the idea of not ruling anything out.
You can't. Here the thing is, I think you can make choices. Absolutely. Yeah. I'm not saying like throw something against a wall and see what sticks. I mean, listen, for some people that works.
Yeah.
To me, it's, if you want to learn about something, do the work, inform yourself, be fearless, even while fearful of, again, one of the greatest things that I would say to someone is, if you don't know how to do it, or you're trying something new, or you feel just so defeated because of either you were just fired or let go, or you don't know what to do, or you're uncertain, or people in your family or around you are telling you, don't do it. Okay. Then find a way for you to take step forwards. And sometimes it's baby steps, but those steps gets bigger. And sometimes they go faster, but do the work. Again, get on social media, engage with it, because that begins to take down those walls of, I'm too old, or these people are too young, or I don't relate, or whatever. There are so many people out there that are just like you, that want to connect with you, that want to create community, that want to hear, that want to learn, that want to listen, and trust that. Take that first step, inform yourself, look to people that you think are doing it really well. I still do that. And again, for me, it doesn't matter how old they are. If I see something that they're doing that I think is incredible or fantastic, or I never would have thought of, wow. So let me try it. It may not work for me, but it's opened me up to finding a way for me to express myself in another way.
Wow is always a good place to end.
It's a good place.
Eric, thank you so much.
Oh,
thank you
Hal,
so
it's
much
a
for your
pleasure.
time and your insight, your happiness, and your smile.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a joy to be with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for joining me for another edition of The Happy Grown Up. And if you want to hear more about all the ways you can be inspired to be new aging, whether it's self-care, travel, relationships, health, creating a next act, dealing with challenges, finding romance, or just getting off on that special person you see in the mirror, please subscribe to our newsletter at thehappygrownup.com. It is such a gift to be all grown up these days, and it sure as hell beats the alternative. You can worry, but be happy.